Welcome everyone to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Matt.
There once were some lads who made some noise in two microphones, the Virtual Ball Boys. The season's over and we're through. Tom Brady is our dad. Soon may the offseason come to let us rest and have some fun. One day we'll football again, but please still watch our show.
Wow. I mean, that's solid. That's solid. I mean, you started the season with a musical number, obviously taking from our theme song, but this one was a sea shanty, it sounded like.
It was, yeah. The Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, so had to go with pirate.
It mmade sense. It made sense. Tom Brady's our dad. Honestly, I tuned out after that because I didn't actually catch any of the other lyrics as much because I was so thrown off by that one. Oh man,
that was the plan.
You could have just been saying gibberish for the last second half. I had no idea. Oh wow. Well, yeah, that's a way to have our sort of closing intro of the season, guys. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, we have basically, but we're done. We're done.
We're done. We did it.
We finished the season. It has been quite the trip, and it is hard to believe that we actually even had something like this to watch and tune in, and it was a fun time, and at times very frustrating in nature, just because of capitalism being, forcing us into having a season in the first place. But it was still fun to recap and predict and just talk about and rant about and joke about. It's been a lot of fun. So we have now come to the conclusion of the 2020 NFL season.
Our second season under the podcast. Feels great.
Yes, under the Virtual Ball Boys. I believe that this is the end of the fourth season together doing this.
Fourth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we started under the MMG name back in 2017, and I do want to actually start there because the 2017 NFL season was our first together. What if I told you, Matt, and this was us coming off of, in 2015, where the Panthers were the NFC champion, and in 2016 the Atlanta Falcons were the NFC champion, and the 2017 the Saints were the NFC champion, and in 2017 both the Panthers and the Falcons were playoff teams along with the Saints, and the Saints were beginning a 4-year stretch or 3-year stretch 4-year stretch on top of the division. What if I told you back in 2017 that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would win a championship before any of the other teams?
That is insane. I would not have believed you because Mr. 30 and 30 was that quarterback.
Yeah, basically. Hey, well, I mean, I don't think any of us would have ever expected that Tom Brady would be the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but here we are.
Definitely not.
Here we are. Yeah, so, I mean, the gist is, I mean, we don't really have to go into the game because the game was boring as shit, but at the bottom line, the Buccaneers. I when I entered this game, I was like, all right, it's either going to be a super close Buccaneers victory, or a Chiefs victory of any kind, which is like either a close game or it's going to be a complete blowout. I did not expect a Buccaneers blowout. And sure enough, that's what happened, and you could say that I give credit to the defense of the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers defense was the MVP of the game.
Yeah, Todd Bowles should have gotten MVP.
Don't get me wrong, Buccaneers offense played very, very well.
Sure, yeah, 100%.
But the reason it was 31-9 and not 31-30 something else was because of the Bucs defense.
Yeah. I think in terms of MVP performance, I think it just ended up allotting to Brady because there wasn't maybe like a individual defensive player that outshined them all. The Buccaneers, and that's why Tom Brady ended up getting the MVP. But I do think that guys like Devin White probably could have gotten an MVP nod on that front. And just so much credit to Todd Bowles. Dude was absolutely had that is one of the people I am just so freaking happy about having won a championship, because he had such a shit run with the Jets. Really had terrible time dealing with ownership and a bad GM, and I'm sure I will hold myself accountable and say I probably did not paint Todd Bowles in a good light as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, he's always been a solid ever since his time at Arizona, when he was also with Bruce Arians. And he definitely got the praise that he's deserved, and he should have been probably hired during this past head coaching cycle. Unfortunately didn't, but he'll have another shot to prove that his defense is one of the best in the league, and I'm super happy for him on that. And of course, there's other reasons. I think one thing that I forgot to bring up in the last week, and we both did, was that the tackle injuries for the Chiefs played a huge role. Eric Fisher going down in the AFC Championship game.
Forgot about that
and
bit.
Mitchell Schwartz was down earlier in the year. But that played a huge role in the fact that the offensive line just could not stop, Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea. Like, it was a nonstop storm, and it was
also
Patrick
the
Mahomes.
Chiefs receivers. Also, the Chiefs receivers couldn't catch shit.
That too. No, yeah, Patrick Mahomes was not. I think that the one takeaway, and I know there were definitely people out there that wanted to be like, aha, Mahomes, take him down a peg. But I don't think you look at the game, if you really looked at the game, and say that it was on Patrick Mahomes, because it was the bad offensive line. It was the fact that the receivers were not catching any passes.
Yeah.
Old Reliable and Travis Kelce dropped a few passes. Like, it's just, these things happen. And we looked at the Chiefs as being like a very indestructible team. And the fact of the matter is, they weren't.
No. Yeah. We saw like as the season was wrapping up that, hey, they were only winning by these games by one score. That's not something the Chiefs do.
No. They were. People would argue that they were a better offense in Patrick Mahomes' first year at quarterback in 2018. And 2019 might have even been a step down from 2018, but they still had a solid team and a defense that got hot in January. And once again, the defense got hot in January, but that did not translate into February, and that's when things just kind of fell apart for them. So was a really, it sucked for the Chiefs. Hate this. I think you can look at it two ways. It sucks for them, and I feel for them, but they did win last year.
They did.
They got their reign that time, and also I don't know if I was ready to have these conversations of, are the Chiefs going to be the greatest dynasty of all time when they're still named the fucking Chiefs? Like, I don't think I was prepared for those conversations. That might still come up. This could be like the 2001 Patriots, where they won the first time, lost conveniently to it was the Buccaneers that won the next year after that, when the Patriots dynasty started. And then the Patriots won the back-to-back after the Buccaneers Super Bowl championship. It could happen again, where it's the Chiefs two times, so they'll be back. There's no doubt about it.
It is wild to me how weird it feels that the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. Like that sentence doesn't fit right in my head.
Mm-hmm.
For a couple reasons. One, it's the Buccaneers. They were a 5 seed.
Absolutely.
They weren't the Saints or the Packers coming into the postseason. But they on that front of things, they feel like the underdog, and I love rooting for the underdogs. But Tom Brady being at quarterback totally ruins that underdog narrative.
100%. It definitely does. And I look at the rest of the team and I see underdogs. on it, you know.
Mike Evans,
yeah, like the guy, like,
won a Super Bowl.
Like to me, like the fact that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Levante David can all
fucking Leonard Fournette.
And Leonard Fournette, man, like I'm so happy for Leonard Fournette. I know that like he had like the problems down in Jacksonville, but I never really saw Fournette as being like a bad guy. He kind of he kind of regressed as a player down there. He came to the Buccaneers and he kicked ass, you know, like like at least especially down the stretch. Like I mean, there were times, like I think, was it in December that he was like a healthy scratch, or he just didn't play a lot? Like there was something that, like,
I think so, yeah.
Near the end of the last of the regular season, he wasn't used as much, but then in January he was used properly, and he was the main face of the running game, and like he was great in the playoffs for the Jacksonville Jaguars back in 2017. Back to that year again, and how many connections to that year we can make. But
also, LaShawn McCoy did it again, back-to-back Super Bowls without playing a single snap.
Right. He's just racking them up. All right, got my 2 rings. You know, there you go.
All right, whoever LaShawn McCoy goes to next year.
Just scoop him up. He'll just be like your 4-leaf clover, you know?
We tried that with LeGarrette Blount a few years ago when he went to the Lions. It did not work.
No, it did not. I mean, McCoy has also said that he might retire too. So, like,
he probably should retire.
Yeah, he probably will. But you know, if he still wants to play, hey, Giants, hey, look, just bring him in. He can mentor, you know, Saquon Barkley, maybe. You know, who knows?
Mentor a better running back.
Right, exactly. I've said this before. I'm so happy for Bruce Arians. One of the more open-minded coaches in the league, to a fault. I mean, you judge his decision to bring on like Antonio Brown, like you have reasons to judge him, but we also have the 2 first women to ever win the Super Bowl as coaches, like Lori Locust and Moral Javadifer. Like that's so amazing. Like to have those are the Lori Locust is the assistant defensive line coach, and Meryl Javadifer is the assistant strength and conditioning coach. And I believe Javadifer has been there for like a few years too. Like since Bruce Arians showed up. Like it's so nice to see that diversity. And again, Byron Leftwich, you have to give credit to him too. He schemed up this offense that made Tom Brady at 43. You know, I mean, give credit to Brady for his talents, but or for his skills, but Leftwich was also a key part in making it work.
You can also have Brady in a bad offense, like we saw on the Patriots last year.
Right, exactly. Like we have seen Brady at a low point, which was the last at least 2 seasons. It felt like, where it wasn't, or at least in 2019, it really felt like it was a tough for him. We thought he was going to age out and completely be done. And like the Buccaneers, we didn't have. Both of us were like, I mean, maybe they could make the playoffs, but we were kind of skeptical because of how Brady performed. But Leftwich comes in and he schemed it up well for
I wrote them off.
Yeah.
Immediately, I was like, Brady Gronk, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do much of anything. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like that level of attitude that was so incredibly wrong.
Yeah, but
cold takes exposed.
But you know what? I think there's also like a twinge of hopefulness in that. Like we're just like, all right, well maybe we don't have to hear Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski having to lift the trophy again. But it is a credit to them that Gronk could come out of retirement and still play at a level. He scored 2 touchdowns in this game. Yeah. And that Brady at 43 again is still a competent quarterback and even is doing deep throws that are fucking solid. Like he's still a very good quarterback in many ways. Totally. I'm happy for Shaq Barrett, leading sack leader last year and was just now a rising star in the league. He's going to be paid this offseason. Devin White and Antoine Winfield Jr., the 2 young guys on the defense that are going to be stars. And also Ryan Suckup, I have to give credit to him as a guy who was with the Titans for so long as their franchise kicker. I think he bounced around a bit and then landed with the Buccaneers. I'm happy that he got to see a Super Bowl for once because he was not going to get it where he was. You know?
Also, just this fucking team that has had such bad kicking problems, and a few years ago drafted a kicker in the second round.
I forgot about that. Yep. Yeah.
Now just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very quick turnaround job. I'm happy for them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy for them. I do want to transition then though into what I'm not happy about, which is why the fuck are we doing parades, guys?
You gotta.
It is just I understand. I hear what people are saying, like it was like, oh, it's all on boats. Okay, they're on boats with people, with other people. They're crowding on boats with other people not wearing fucking masks. And then they're getting off the boats, not fucking wearing masks. I understand that Florida does not have a mask mandate, but it's a fucking pandemic, and the governor sucks there anyway, alright? So, like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? I was so angry. I really, like, I'm happy for the Buccaneers. I'm happy for the players on the team, but I also think they're fucking reckless.
Yes.
And I think Tampa Bay is not even a city, right? Like they're kind of like, it's like that's like the region. Whoever's fucking
Tampa Bay is a city.
It is a city. Okay. Yeah. I've heard some weird geography shit there. I wasn't too sure, but fuck them too, because like for just allowing it to happen. Like, guys, like we can.
Sorry, Tampa is the city.
Tampa is the city. Okay, I apologize.
Yes.
So Tampa, what the fuck? Like, I understand we want to celebrate these things, and it's nice, but it just brings it back to, like, the whole idea that, like, holy shit, we actually did this during a time where now 500,000 people are dead because of this fucking disease. And I give credit to the doctors and nurses that, you know, made it possible for the NFL to try to pull this off, and they did it. But, like, man, do I wish those doctors and nurses also were working in the hospitals for the people that were that like, and we did not have to like cater to a league that was so cared about. Like, I think the players cared about playing, the coaches cared about playing. I think the owners just cared about fucking money, you know?
Right.
And so to me, like, the fact that they had those doctors and nurses who, granted, I don't know those situations. I don't know if like those healthcare workers would necessarily be working in hospitals and they weren't doing things for the NFL. But my God, do I wish that this... I still, in a way, wish this season did not happen. Because I just worry about what the repercussions were of this. We're not hearing a lot, but I do worry a lot about, like, Jerry Jones opening his stadium to 60,000 people, you know, and these parades and these celebrations that are happening. It just... I hate to be a killjoy about the whole thing. But, like, it just is like...
No, we should bring it up.
You know, like it kills me on that front. But yeah, that's just my little thing there. And Tom Brady was riding around. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, look at Tom Brady throwing the trophy across the fucking water." I could not laugh at anything throughout that parade because I was just like, none of this is, I don't like this. This all feels morally wrong. He was on his $2 million yacht. I just want to point out a report that came out about a month ago that his organization, TB12, applied for PPP loans and got $1 million worth to the TB12 organization. And that money...
What do they...
I don't know if it's speculation online. I don't know. First of all, I don't know what the TB12 organization even does. Granted, I could be completely ignorant about this, but it's not a good look when you apply for PPP loans, which are these loans that are given out to businesses that are struggling in the COVID pandemic, and then he goes and buys a $1 million yacht. That to me was also very frustrating. I just look at like how the NFL generally has treated this season, because this season was very interesting to me. Where you talk about, they had this whole campaign about "It Takes All of Us," and it was about based off of the whole
the racism issues, Black Lives Matter, things that we have been experiencing as of late.
Right. And I look at that and I see that they were doing that and like the things that they were trying to do to help that. And this is not me putting this on the players at all, because I do think there's a lot of players that have been doing the right thing in terms of speaking out about these issues. But I felt like the NFL took that issue and were presenting that to people, but at the same time are still doing things like not paying retired black players as much money in those concussion settlements, which that was a report that came out again during Super Bowl week from ABC, which we knew about since August, because New York Times came out and talked about that there's racial bias within the system that, you know, decides how much money players get from these settlements. And then we see it with the lack of diversity hiring again in the coaching cycle.
Yeah. What the fuck, guys?
And then we see it again with Urban Meyer, what he just fucking did with his strength and conditioning coach, Chris Doyle. And for those who do not know and do not follow college football, Chris Doyle was a strength and conditioning coach of 20 years from University of Iowa. He is responsible for he had grueling workouts that sent like 13 Iowa players to the hospital, and he also was very much giving racist statements to black players and like making fun of them consistently.
Give me a Y. Give me an I. Give me a K. Give me an E. Give me an S. What's that spell? Fucking yikes.
And he left Iowa. He left Iowa after those allegations came out. And guess who fucking hires him to be part of the Jacksonville Jaguars strength and conditioning coach organization? Urban Meyer. What the fuck, man?
It's not even a real first name.
Like, so I want to look at the NFL and say that, okay, you did the best you could to have a season where players were trying to remain safe as possible from COVID. And you tried to have a season where, you said it takes all of us, and that you promoted a little bit more of Black Lives Matter and what Colin Kaepernick had been, trying to voice. But yes, still got a long way to go, folks. And it is they're these consistent issues that the NFL has, trying to look like they're the good guys. My God, stop trying to fucking play coy and stop trying to like avoid these conversations. Tackle them head on. It is ridiculous to me to continue to support this league, and we talk about it on this podcast, and I enjoy talking about it on this podcast. But it is so fucking frustrating to me that we have to consistently look at this league and be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know I've talked a lot. I don't know if you have anything to add on it, but I'm just very frustrated about it.
About as well as we could.
Yeah, I'm just very frustrated about the league at the moment, and I'm hoping that the only way that we're going to continue to do this podcast and continue to talk about it is we just want you all to know that we're going to have it over the veil that this league needs to change, and that it's not going to change because I worry it's not going to change just because the owners are going to continue to make money in whatever ways they can and be scummy about it and make stupid decisions like this. But we just have to keep on calling it out, and that's all.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyways, that was really my takeaway on the season. For you, Matt, even if whether you want to put that aside or even expand on it or not, just what is your takeaway from this season and what it meant for you and what it meant for just watching it generally from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting season to watch. I think both from a like team loyalty standpoint and from a just league as a whole standpoint. Nothing felt super extreme, I guess, about the season.
Sure.
Beyond like some teams are good now. All my teams are middle of the road. It's fine.
It happens.
It happens. But just Yeah, I don't really know how to just articulate this. I enjoyed what I watched. I'm glad that it was there. It gave me something to like do on Sunday. This is one of my favorite things that we do every week. So like the fact that we get to talk about this is always an important thing to me. And I don't know if I'd be as into the sport if it wasn't for this podcast.
100%. I'm with you.
So it is like this whole thing is important to me. And I think that, I do think that with, despite all of the shitty causes, if everyone is able to give 100% worth of effort into doing something like this, it's not going to be perfect, and it definitely was not perfect. But I think that the players and coaches wanted it enough that they were willing to make the sacrifices and do what they needed to do to actually have this season go off.
Absolutely. No, yeah.
And that is something that I think is commendable, and that they were able to do not as well as they could, but well enough.
They did well enough. I mean, and obviously there was also the report about Alvin Kamara took off his COVID tracking thing. It refused to wear it, and that's going to cause controversy. Saints are going to be investigated for that. But yeah, you're right though. Like it is. I am frustrated about having the season, and I did not want it to happen, just because I felt I'm worried about the health of our society at the moment.
Yeah. Me too.
But I know other people are as well. I'm not trying. I don't want to hold myself on this high standard. I'm the only one thinking about this. Obviously people are thinking about it, and they won't. And these players and the coaches, I think for the most part, understood that, but wanted to not only be able to play and do their thing, but also I think that some of them did think about the fans and think about what it would mean for other people to actually experience this and have this product while we are still suffering and still trying to deal with what is going on. And I think a lot of them did do their best, and I think there was a good amount of them that are good spokespeople for the idea of wear your fucking masks and take care of each other and do what you can to kind of make sure that it is that we can kind of get out of this at some point. And so hopefully by September, we are not completely back to normal. I doubt it, but are at least getting to the point of where things are going to feel a lot more comfortable. And that we can have games where it isn't that I'm going to be high stress about it.
It's not a threat of public safety.
Exactly. I will still try be mad about Jerry Jones and all the other league people that allowed fans to go into the stands, but
imagine I've said this before. Imagine being a Cowboys fan and letting Jerry Jones decide your fate.
Oh man, right?
And your happiness.
Oh man, yeah, imagine, yeah, it is. That's a. We don't talk about enough how sad the Cowboys organization is, because it's been a while since they've had substantial success, and there might be one man.
Jerry Jones didn't own the team.
There might be one man to blame. Yeah, Oh boy. Yeah, I follow a few Cowboys fans, and I almost universally it's just fuck Jerry Jones, because it's true. It is true in a lot of ways. It was a fun season, and I don't mean to be a downer about it, but it is very. I am glad to have done this podcast with you, and it is really the only reason I was super into it this season was because of doing this podcast with you, and so I'm so happy that we were able to pull it off. And just to go over, one of the reasons why we love doing this podcast is the predictions and what we how well do we do with predictions. So let me tell you our final prediction totals, for the 2020 season. So as you guys may or may not be aware, our regular season totals. Just to recap that, Matt, you finished with 167 to 88 was your final record there. I finished 160 to 95. In the playoffs, I went 9-4, and Matt, you went 7-6.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough playoffs. It was tough playoffs for that one. But overall final records, we both blew our old records out of the water. You went 174, 94, and 1 was your final overall record. I went 169, 99, and 1. I avoided, by a tie, 100 losses. I'm very happy about that. That was
nice.
That was a nice victory there. Excuse me. And then from there, I'm going to go back to our preseason predictions here. Our NFL awards picks for MVP, both of us picked Russell Wilson.
Nope.
That was close, though. I want to give us credit.
It was close for the first half of the year.
For the first half of the year, it was solid, and then all went to shit.
And then the Seahawks do what they do every year.
Right. Offensive Player of the Year. You said Christian McCaffrey. That's a rough one.
Obviously not. Did not turn out.
That didn't work out. I picked Derrick Henry.
There you go.
I mean, look, I think I was just riding the wave of like, hey, Derrick Henry did well last year, why not? And turns out 2,000 yards later, he did it. So I'm happy about that pick. Depoy, you got close here. TJ Watt was your pick.
Yeah, I was close.
You were very close there. And
you almost got it.
I went Cameron Jordan. I just like Cameron Jordan.
Yeah.
I think that's really why I picked him. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think we have to start picking rookie quarterbacks from here on out. We both picked running backs here. You chose Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I chose Jonathan Taylor. I would say for my
Taylor
pick,
had the better year, I think.
I think it's tough because Taylor had he was bad this year,
right?
But near the end, he picked it up and was better. He played better near the second half of the year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I thought he had a good stretch though. I thought he had moments.
Yeah. Just wasn't super standout.
Right. No, for sure. Defensive Rookie of the Year. We both picked Isaiah Simmons. I didn't even hear Isaiah Simmons' name at all this year.
Yeah,
that did not. We were
bad pick.
Yeah,
bad pick.
Did not work out. Comeback Player of the Year. I chose Alex Smith. I think the reason why you didn't go in that direction was just because you didn't know for sure if he was going to even get the opportunity to start, which I totally understandable. You chose Cam Newton on this one, and
that did not turn out well.
That was a rough pick.
Yep.
Coach of the Year, I chose Sean McDermott, and you chose.
I chose Kingsbury. That was
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
But I think Kingsbury, I would have argued for him potentially as a Coach of the Year pick, halfway through the year, because the Cardinals were really solid and then just dropped off near the end of the year. Our NFL bold predictions.
No, I want to talk about one of mine.
I'll go. Yeah, go ahead.
I remember.
You could go ahead and point this one out.
So the one bold prediction that I remember that I got very wrong was that no team was gonna have, no quarterback was gonna have more than 35 touchdowns.
Yeah, that you got 5 or 6. I think had more than 35. Right? Something along those lines.
Yep.
I liked it though. I really did because I thought I did think what if the training not having training camp what if that had an impact? But now one of the takeaways from this season was the fact that training camp doesn't fucking matter. People literally people were able to have and exist in the NFL and still play phenomenal football without a whole bunch of training camp. Another one that we both said, one division will have 4 playoff teams. We had 3. We had a 3 teams in one division made it, but not 4.
But that's happened before though, so it's not as exciting.
That's true. Right. Exactly. 11 NFC teams will be at or above 500. No, that was me.
No,
that was me. NFC was worse this year. That was a really that was a rough one. That was a rough pick. I said a 2019 playoff team will finish at the bottom 2 in the league. If I fucking said 5, I would have gone Texans and annoyed about that. But that's okay. Yeah. I'll take the L. I said a rookie would lead the league in sacks. Did not happen. Chase Young was far away from that, but I believe he was the leader amongst rookies. Matt, you already said the 35 touchdown one, and then a receiver from a bottom 5 team will lead the league in yards. Did not happen. Stephon Diggs leads the league in yards. Our playoff predictions, we had mine was Saints, Seahawks, Cowboys, Vikings, 49ers, Falcons, and Buccaneers as my NFC.
Yikes.
Yeah, the 3 of those, 4 of those were really bad. Cowboys, Vikings, 49ers, Falcons. That's a really bad combination there. And then the AFC, Chiefs, Titans, Ravens, Bills, Colts, Steelers, Browns.
I can get mine up.
So that, I think I got every single AFC
That's
playoff
pretty
team.
good.
That's pretty good. Not the correct order, but I got it. I had Saints over Chiefs in the Super Bowl, so I got the wrong NFC South team. So
yeah. So my to start the year was NFC was New Orleans, Dallas, Seattle, Minnesota, San Francisco, Rams, Green Bay.
That wasn't too bad.
Not bad. Replace Minnesota with Chicago somehow.
Yeah. 49ers and Cowboys as well.
Yeah, 49ers with Cowboys. No, with Washington.
Well, right, but like Cowboys also...
Dallas won the division. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oops.
That's what I mean, like Cowboys...
Oh, no.
Yes. Can we remember the time of the Cowboys being like, oh, man, they're going to be like a super team this year?
Yeah.
Oh, man, we were young.
AFC I did pretty good on. It was Baltimore, KC, Buffalo, Tennessee, Indiana. Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, New England.
Yeah, you didn't have the Browns in there, but that's it. I think AFC we had a good read on,
right.
And you had Ravens winning the Super Bowl over the Seahawks.
Indeed.
But again, I mean, we all chose playoff teams at least.
Right.
That was the good thing. We also both locked up the idea that Washington was going to miss the playoffs, so that's good. Worked out there. But we did get every other lock correct. Like we all the teams that we thought would make the playoffs made it, and the ones we thought were going to be eliminated outside Washington did not. Cool. And I think it's kind of adjusted in the mid season. We don't have to go through that as heavily, but essentially it was we did have Myles Garrett. Both of us had Myles Garrett as depoy. Which is
halfway through.
Yeah, which is interesting. Both I had Kyler Murray as my offensive player of the year. I don't know why.
I also did.
You had Alvin Kamara listed. At least here I have Alvin Kamara.
I think you switched those because I only have mine written down and I have Kyler Murray.
Okay, fair enough. So maybe that's what. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at this now. So I wrote these. I have these set up in reverse right now. So yes, you are correct. You were Kyler Murray. I had Alvin Kamara on that one. I had Chase Claypool as my offensive rookie. You did nail the Justin Herbert thing. We rolled those defensive rookies to the ground.
Damn, I wanted Jeremy Chin would have been a fun one.
Yeah, Antoine Winfield Jr. We both picked them as a final result, knowing very well though at this point that it was going to be Chase Young, but we wanted to throw it out there. You picked Cliff Kingsbury as your coach of the year. I chose Brian Flores. Neither of us got that right. We didn't know the Browns had a turnaround in them. And then we both had Alex Smith as your comeback player of the year and Russell Wilson as MVP. Fun. I love doing these predictions. We're gonna now, just. I do want to talk off-season headlines, but let's transition from prediction to prediction. What, Matt? Do you have predictions of the 2021 off-season? Do you have one? At least. So
last year was a huge quarterback carousel.
Mm-hmm.
This year is going to be a bigger one.
Okay.
More teams will switch starting quarterbacks than switched last year. That's my bold prediction.
That's your bold prediction? Okay.
Yep.
My bold prediction is actually going to be like a little bit opposite of that. But just with regards to one situation, I say that even with all the speculation, and this is not necessarily bold because it feels like it's going in this direction a little bit, but I am going to put my foot down and say Deshaun Watson is going to remain a Texan. I think
makes sense.
I think that this situation is we were getting a little hyped about it. I think it's still broken. The relationship for that organization is absolutely broken with Deshaun Watson, but I could see it where it comes together maybe like in the summer and they repair. But I think Watson remains a Texan. Any other predictions?
I was hoping I would be able to think of more. That's the only one that I was able to prepare.
Do you have a landing spot for Watson outside of the Texans?
Well, I'm going to say the one I've been saying for the last 5 weeks in Carolina.
There you go. I was hoping to pull that one out.
Yeah.
I have two more. One that's a little bit bold and one that's not going to happen. But I'm just going to throw it out there into the fucking universe, all right? The first one, I say that 20 trades will be done by March 31st.
Oh boy.
20 trades.
That's a lot.
I saw 15 last year, so that got close. But I think 15 by March 31st. But I think that this year is going to be wild because of the cap situation being weird this year with cutbacks. So I think trades are going to be more frequent, and I think that's why we're going to see 20 trades by March 31st. And here's the wild one, because I don't. I look at the Deshaun Watson situation and I say that he's going to remain a Texan. But there's going to be one quarterback I think we're going to be shocked about. Russell Wilson traded to the Jaguars for the number 1 overall pick.
What the fuck?
Because
that would be shocking.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be the Jaguars. But I do think that there is some rumblings in the waters right now where you're hearing. Russell Wilson came out. He publicly talked about how he was not happy with what's been going down. Some people throwing it back at him, saying it's not. It could be partially your fault as well. However we're looking at the situation, there's been reports that the front office is not happy with Russell Wilson at the moment, at least with having spoken out about that. And I would be curious to see if maybe the Seahawks are just blow it all up, and it would be wild. I don't know if they would do that with Pete Carroll under as their head coach still, but it could happen, and they could make an offer to Jacksonville, be like, hey. We know you love Trevor Lawrence, but how about you have Russell Wilson, the guaranteed good thing, and we take on Trevor Lawrence instead?
That would be very wild. All right, I do have one more prediction.
Sure, hit me with it.
The Washington football team will get a name.
Oh, that's it.
End of prediction.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna offer it's gonna be this, the Foxes or whatever. Yeah,
that'd be a fun team name.
Yeah. No, I hope I appreciate the bold prediction of that, because it does feel like there is a section of NFL Twitter that's very much keep the name, keep Washington football team, because it's ridiculous, but it's also whatever, it's unique. But yeah. I do hope that it is they snatch up one of those animals that are out in the ether and own it as a franchise. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. They'll probably have some sort of rebrand this offseason. We know the Bengals are getting a uniform rebranding as well. So
I hope they look good, because the Bengals have an opportunity for cool uniforms, and they don't always.
Yeah, they don't
result in it.
Yeah. The helmets are fun. The uniform is kind of lackluster.
Yep.
All right, let's just run through some of the offseason headlines here. Quick coaching roundup, because we didn't really get a chance to finish up talking about this particular front. The Texans hired David Culley, the Ravens' assistant head coach, out of nowhere, but he has been hired, and he was the first black coach hired this cycle, and the only black coach hired this cycle. And he, of course, is now also the oldest head coach in the NFL at the moment, as well. Nick Siriani from the Colts, he is hired as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach. Brandon Staley has been hired as the Chargers head coach. He was the defensive coordinator for the Rams. I think the main takeaway from this is that what the fuck NFL are your hiring practices, but also by any chance did you hear anything about the Nick Sirianni press conference?
No.
Okay.
Look, you Dan Campbell happens and you can't go back to anyone else.
Right. That's true. So Sirianni, I think he got heavily criticized in his press conference because he was very much not answering questions very clearly. He was clearly very nervous, and he was getting criticized for that. I do want to say that, while I do think that the hiring cycle is bullshit, and I do think that there is more qualified candidates right now.
Yeah.
In the pool. Let's not get on the guy for one bad press conference. Let's see what happens. In the future, but it is glaring. It is a glaring like what the fuck is going on, because he was like he not only it's not so much that he was even stuttering over his words. He like his answers didn't make sense to questions or to just even even it was his speech that he was giving, and the speech didn't even make much sense, and it was
right. And with a head coach, you want someone who like really inspires confidence.
But yeah, like
anything.
Dan Campbell, confidence and
confidence and
and
eating kneecaps, I guess.
Eating kneecaps, you gotta embrace that. I still, one of my favorite memes, I forget if I mentioned it when we talked about the Jared Goff trade, was a picture of like when when Jared Goff shows up at the Lions facility, and it's a picture and it's like Mike Tyson biting off the ear of the boxer.
Oh no.
It's like Dan Campbell. It's Mike Tyson. Oh my god. Yeah, no, but I've heard relatively good things about Brandon Staley. I even know that he was just a one-time guy, had the one defensive coordinator opportunity, did very well, and then got his head coaching opportunity versus like other qualified head coaches that probably should have, or assistants that should have gotten the head coaching role. But I've heard relatively good things about him, that like he might be a good force in that organization as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's always coaching. The coaching hires are always a crapshoot. You never know which ones are going to succeed or not. All right, let's talk a little Deshaun Watson. We were bringing it up earlier, but Deshaun Watson, basically the gist, started near the end of the year. Supposedly the Texans told Deshaun, "Hey, we're gonna get you involved in the hiring process for general manager." And they had a committee in which they were evaluating this in terms of choosing who should be the general manager. And then I think it was Cal McNair or Jack Easterby, one of them, went completely against the committee and did not bring Deshaun Watson in, and went out of their way to hire Nick Caserio, who has been rumored to go to Texans for a few years now. That turned around into Deshaun Watson being very pissed off about the whole thing, and cutting his ties a little bit with the Texans, and then later on requesting a trade. But a lot of it was based around, it's just he's sick of the ownership of the organization, Cal McNair, and he's sick of Jack Easterby as well, who is just this preacher guy that was a character coach with the Patriots and then got this executive vice president role with the Texans. And they're...
Get this man in some teal.
So that's like the gist of it. What, like, from what you understand of it, because it is a whole bunch of clusterfuck, what is your thoughts of the Texans situation right now in Deshaun Watson?
I think that the Texans as an organization are fucking screwed, as is the entire city of Houston when it comes to sports.
Houston has had a rough go of it lately.
Listen, like I don't recommend a ton of like sports channels just because I'm not always sure of the content makers stances on things.
Sure, 100%.
But there is a YouTuber. I'll credit this video just because it's a wild video. YouTuber Urinating Tree, who yeah, quite the name. Who basically went through this whole thing about how the city of Houston sold their soul to the devil, to a succubus specifically, for one night of pleasure in winning the 2017 World Series. And ever since them having to repay their debt.
Yeah, it's wild. The Houston Astros cheating scandal, and then James Harden forcing himself out.
Harden and Westbrook are gone, and then the fucking Hopkins trade, and then like Deshaun Watt's out. JJ Watt's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah,
the entire city is blown up.
yeah. Rich Eisen said it on his talk show today. He was like, if I had a child in a Houston sports fan, the good side of me would be like, yeah, it's you just you sit through it, you get through it, and there will be good times ahead. And the other side of it is, well, at least you don't have a hockey team. Because you lose someone there too. There,
you literally go across the Gulf of Mexico and there's Tampa Bay having a fucking blast right now.
Yeah, no, I know. Tampa Bay is having the time of their lives. I mean, it is wild. They're just missing a basketball team and to claim a championship right now. It's amazing. Yeah, I don't know, and to tie in the Texans here, I mean, the JJ Watt was released today, so he is no longer a member of the Houston Texans. Longtime Texans legend, done so much for the city, especially during the Hurricane Harvey relief. Seemingly a very good dude, from what I understand from JJ Watt.
Totally.
I think that I root for him, and I'm hoping I think wherever he goes, he's going to make a team more likable. Like, I've seen already, like, he might team up with his brothers with the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers have the cap room, but if they somehow figure that out, I think the Steelers team is immensely more likable because JJ Watt's on there. But I'm sure, like, I think the analysis on that is just, he could go anywhere, and that's totally fine. But to me, what my focus is the Texans. I look at that move, and I'm like, okay, that was kind of expected because he only had a year left on his contract, and he was a declining player, hasn't played as well in recent years. So I don't really have a connection here to Deshaun Watson. But it is the fact, though, that there's a good chance, and again, the Watson thing is just, it's not really gaining much steam at the moment. But there's a chance that you're looking at within a year's time where you lose Hopkins, you lose Watt, and that you might lose Watson. And I don't know how this Texans team is just so totally okay with what is happening to their organization. And
they can't be.
Like,
they can't be okay with it.
Like Cal McNair is like this buds with Jack Easterby, and like being like and putting him in charge of everything. And Nick Caserio, obviously, like, he's has a role in it all, I'm sure, and I'm sure David Culley has some voice in it. But it is like this ownership atop that has just made this situation so toxic, and you wonder, like, was it? We've heard the reports that Bill O'Brien was the reason why DeAndre Hopkins was traded, but do we think that he would have done that if he didn't get the okay from the ownership? You know what I mean? Like it is, like, I feel like there is multiple people at fault for having that relationship fall apart. And we've seen and heard rumors about J.J. Watt not being happy with the Texans, and of course, and Deshaun Watson. And it's worth going back a few years too. I mean, when Bob McNair was still alive, I mean, he wasn't really liked in the locker room either, especially when it was around the time of the the police brutality protests that were happening, and obviously the focus was wrongly on the national anthem. And Bob McNair in the meeting was like, we can't, and this was a horrendous statement when he made it, but he said, essentially, like, we can't let the criminals run the asylum. He used those words specifically, and which is very fucking racist.
That's really bad.
That's really fucking bad. And so, like, this team, the people that run this team right now, I don't know what the future is for this Texans organization, because I just don't know. Even if you start to rebuild and you maybe do keep Watson around, and Watson does come around, and you start just trying to build a team around him, I don't trust them to pick up the right players. I don't trust them to pick up to have, like, the right strategies in mind, because they have not shown me that they can make good decisions. And I think if I'm them at this point, and they really want to make this right and do right by its players and its organization, I say let Deshaun Watson trade him, get a fucking coup for him. You know,
you need
wrong terms of phrase. I want to apologize for that wrong terms of phrase, especially during these times in the investigations going on in Washington D.C. No, but you know what I mean, though.
you need to get a lot. You can get a lot for him. Otherwise he's just going to, like, if you respect him at all, get him somewhere to where he can actually compete, because he's not competing with this roster.
Yeah,
he fucking destroyed this year yardage wise.
Yeah. With a bad team. Yeah.
But you're not going to win games. You just aren't.
Exactly. It's such a shame, and I hate this mindset that people have. They're like, well, the owners can do what they want. They can hold on to and start finding the player and everything, and making sure that they get their ass to camp. And it's just like, man, that sounds so like that just sounds so fucking evil sounding, doesn't it? Like, it just sounds so like the idea that like your employer is going to like take charge of your life and be like, no, you are not allowed to have any say in what you're doing, and we must have this power over you, and like it's all about fucking power, man. It sucks. And so I'm hoping that the Chuck get out of it. Speaking of quarterback situation, Carson Wentz also supposedly was gonna get traded this week. That shit hasn't happened yet, but
Colts. All
right, that's the segment. So moving on. But yeah, like that is basically what we're hearing. So there's a reason why you're saying it like that.
Colts.
But yeah, so Carson Wentz, there is rumors that he could go to one of two teams, the Colts and a team that is very close and dear to this podcast. But
I've banned Chris from saying Carson Wentz and this team's name in the same topic.
If you missed the final Super Tackle Bro stream, that was basically when those rules were established. But yes, I'm not allowed to say the other team in which Carson Wentz would go to, because it would spell disaster, at least in the eyes of Matt and a lot of people, I'm sure. But yeah, so Carson Wentz is being rumored to be sent here, and what is even this trade? Like, how do we go about doing this trade?
I don't know.
Everyone has been talking about that Carson Wentz's trade, like his contract makes him untradeable, and now all of a sudden he's tradable. Are they looking at the Jared Goff situation and being like, well, maybe we trade him and like a few first rounders for someone, or for a bevy of other picks? Like,
yeah,
what are we doing here exactly?
I don't know, dude.
What is your concern from your team's perspective? Because I'm sure that when I say your team, I'm sure that those who have followed us for a while know who I'm talking about. What's your worry for your team acquiring him? Because
he is a downgrade from Mitchell.
Right. Yeah. And it's the fact that they would have to cough up something in order to get Carson.
Yes. It would not be worth it. Who the fuck is he? Is he going to throw to Darnell Mooney? No one else?
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney is great. I'm very happy that he's a Bear.
Yeah.
Had a nice rookie season. Not a number one yet.
Yeah.
Oh God, it would be a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know where it is at this point, what the mindset is. I do agree, though, that the Colts might be the better shot if the Colts are willing to make a bold move like that. And we know the Colts they make bold moves all the time. They traded for the DeForest Buckner, and it worked out for them. You know, and so maybe they're willing to take the shot in terms of replacing Phillip Rivers, who retired. So I don't know. It's a fascinating situation, and that's going to be another quarterback that we'll watch. And I'm sure there's other quarterback situations, obviously Dak Prescott, that we'll get into in the offseason. Last note here. Yeah, so notable retirements. We talked about it. Phillip Rivers just, finally hung it up after so many years in the league. Was such a fun player to cover. Truly, in terms of like just his goofiness almost at times, where the smack talk on the field was like always like Tarnation style.
So PG.
Very, very PG. But he was an interesting player. I mean, our podcasts have really been in his last years, and he had his moments that he was amazing, and then had his moments where he declined. But for the most part, like, his time with the Chargers were like, maybe with the exception of like some 2019 moments and then some parts of this year, that he didn't play as well. Like, he had some good stretches for him that was pretty solid.
Yeah. Have to agree.
And then Tynan Jason Witten finally retired again. And so he's going to become a football coach, I believe. Thomas Davis retired. That was, longtime Panther, went with Washington was with the Chargers and then went to Washington. Anthony Costanzo, that was a big one for the Colts. That was their longtime left tackle. He retired. I want your opinion on Greg Olsen retiring.
One of my all-time favorite players. I'm happy for his career. I cannot wait to see him broadcast.
Yeah. He is assigned. He's going to be the number 2 team, it looks like, on Fox, paired with Kevin Burkhardt. So the
Bears are like the number 2 team on Fox, like all the time. So
it's such a big fan base. That makes sense. And it's. That is, you're gonna see usually the number 2 team, or they're basically the national team, one of the national teams that you see most frequently. So people will be seeing a lot of Greg Olsen. And an interesting one that happened today, the Pouncey brothers, both of them retired.
That was
Marquise Pouncey and Mike Pouncey both retired. Obviously, much more of an impact for the Steelers because Marquise Pouncey has been with the Steelers forever. Has been one of the key members of that Steelers organization in terms of keeping Roethlisberger upright. Did you see that? This is off subject from Pouncey, but did you see that during like the arguments that happened today in Washington that the guy referred to the Georgia Secretary of State as Ben Roethlisberger? By accident.
What?
Yeah, I'll send you a video. No. But
okay.
It was one of the Trump lawyers that were just like, Georgia Secretary of State Ben Roethlisberger, even though it's like like Brad Raffles something else. Like it was kind of close, but not really. Like it was really funny though, because the NFL Twitter blew up for a second with impeachment talk, and they were like, wait, Ben Roethlisberger, what? All right. The last few things before we sign off on this. First off, just a little note. If you guys had been following our streams, Super Tackle Bros, we have our winner. Would you like to reveal the winner, Matt?
Banjo-Kazooie, a.k.a. your Chicago Bears.
Yes, Stanley the Bear as a 7 seed. We also had a wild card team win.
Yeah.
And
we kind of predicted it.
Kind of. But yeah, so Banjo-Kazooie pulls it out. It was a lot of fun. It was just a fun little chill thing that we did. I would love to make it, tweak it for next year. See what more we can do with it. But it was a lot of fun. So that was that. And then now let's move on to VBBFL, because this is now we're shifting programming here, folks.
We are.
All right.
Yeah.
The NFL, we do talk a lot of NFL, and we enjoy it, but we definitely have put VBFL on a sideshow for throughout the NFL season. We've been doing these streams on Saturdays, every other week for the most part. Sometimes there's some breaks in between, but we've been doing them on our Twitch channel, and later today, we're uploading this podcast on Saturday. Later today, we're doing the VBBFL Week 10 stream, and that'll be our last stream of the VBBFL for the time being. Because next episode, the next week, we are going to start doing the VBBFL games on air, on podcast. We're going to be on the mics here, and we're going to be showing you our work, essentially. We're starting with the quarterfinals. We're going to have the episode's probably gonna be around 2 hours long, but it will be the quarterfinals where all the teams will compete, and the winners of each of those games will move on to the semifinals, and then we'll do the semifinals.
There could be some big upsets, like
what for sure.
Yeah, because every team makes the playoffs.
Yeah, and and just to go over some of the things that have happened, we've had two teams sit basically at the bottom, the basement, that we've been following, the Anaconda Mountaineers and Phoenix City Phoenixes. They could win this week, but right now they're both are looking at 1-9 records going in to the playoffs, and they would have to face the best teams in their respective conferences, which it has not been decided in the East, but in the West is going to be the Weatherford Sheriffs, sitting at 7-2. It would be interesting if we see some upsets there.
Yeah.
We Mansfield right now. Mansfield and East Chicago are each trying to compete for the last slot. Basically, if Mansfield wins their game, they are the winners in the East. But if East Chicago wins and Mansfield loses, East Chicago is going to be the winners of the East. So that's going to be an interesting thing to follow on the Week 10 stream.
Mm-hmm.
But basically the matchups have already been decided in the West. Escondido will face Brainerd, and Weatherford will face Anaconda. What are you most looking forward to with this with BBBFL next week?
Just kind of seeing how the rest of the East plays out. The East has a lot of teams I really like. I really like East Chicago. Really like Mansfield. Perth Amboy's fun. So just to see how they all what their matchups are going to be going to the next round, because I just like a lot of East teams.
Yeah, I will say that Perth Amboy was on a skid. They won 4 straight to start the year, lost 4 straight after that, and then won their last game. And of course that was against one of the bad teams in the league. And now we'll see. They're facing Mansfield this week.
They have to take on Mansfield. Mansfield has only lost to East Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the wild tie-breaking thing of it.
Yep.
And Perth Amboy is going to be an interesting test for them, because they went to overtime against Mansfield. You know, they have the capability of winning these games.
Their ball handling is also greater than Mansfield's defense.
Yeah,
which is a huge deal.
Yeah, and that was thanks to the mid-season shift in roster that Walsh made, switching out Wii Fit Trainer for Miss Pac-Man. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow, and so like we said, next few weeks we're going all in on the VBBFL. We might talk some NFL maybe during the semifinal podcast, but we are strictly going to be going into VBBFL territory, wrapping this thing up and getting ready for season 2. And we also have a very long off season ahead of talking random subjects about what's happening in the NFL, but also we have a lot of side things that we love doing. I'm very excited for the 776 podcast part 2 essentially of that.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to doing that later in the spring.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Please release 20,021 already. I'm fucking dying. I need it.
Yeah, the Boyce is the provider of content, but we'll find some more interesting things. I'm down to do some abstract podcasts. Like I'm not. We sometimes have a formula that we do with these things, but we like having fun with it as well. I'm sure we'll have Chet Avery show up for draft time.
Yeah, of course.
We'll have some random. And of course, a lot of the offseason will be setting up the next VBFL as well, like it was this past offseason. So we're very much looking forward to that and providing that to you guys. Any other thoughts from you on everything on the season, on the podcast? Anything?
No, it's just been it's been a ride. Glad we got through it, but
yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely.
Yep. We did it.
Yeah, we did it, man. Before we go, I just want to take a moment to. It's been a rough week, for a lot of people in the sports journalism industry. We lost Therese Paler earlier this week. He was only 37. And just so devastating. And we had Pedro Gomez all of a sudden pass away out of nowhere as well. But for me, I want to talk about Chris Wessling. When we started doing, podcasts, there was a reason for why I got into the idea of doing them. Part of it was the Adventure Zone and Bam Bam, and that was a big inspiration for all of us here at TCP. For me personally, though, the first podcast was the Around the NFL podcast, and they were the ones that kind of really got me in love with football. And those 4 hosts were, they just brought a level of they were very casual in the way they delivered things, and they were very good analysts. Dan Hansis, who was like the funny one, Mark Sessler, who's like the free spirit most of the podcast, and Greg Rosenthal, who was very analytical. And then there's Chris Wessling, who was so smart and so straightforward, and at times came across as cocky, but it was also just very good at what he did. And he became the heart and soul of the podcast, because he was, outside of Dan, who was the main host of the podcast, he would be the first one to say, "Hi, Dan." He would, it was just became like that was his thing, where he would just be the first one to say hello. And he always had something interesting to say. You always wanted to tune into the podcast to listen to him, because he had such great insight, or not insight, but like also he watched the tape. He knew what he was talking about, and so you wanted to hear from him. He was such a great writer. He wrote so many great pieces for the NFL.com. We saw a peek into his life in the last few years, because he got diagnosed with cancer, and he had to deal with a battle that was grueling, but he got out of it and he beat it. And he went on to marry his wife, who also worked at NFL Media, Lakeisha. And in May, they gave birth to a beautiful baby boy in Link. And just around that time, he was diagnosed again. And this time it didn't work out. We lost Chris Wessling this weekend, and I'm very devastated by it, because he meant the world to me as just a viewer, as a listener. And he's really the reason why why I'm here, why we're doing this podcast, why we're doing a lot of this. And of course, all of them do. Every single, from the McElroys to the Critical Role to all the podcasts that have inspired us to do this. And of course the guys that they were on NFL, but Wes means a lot to me, and my heart goes out to Lakeisha, my heart goes out to Link, and to the Around the NFL guys. My heart's broken, but I just know that whenever if whenever the Around the NFL comes back, and I totally think that they should take their time as long as possible, but whenever they do come back, and Dan starts the podcast up, I know that Wes will be there. I know that he'll be there to say hello. And I just want to say thank you, Wes, for everything. I'm gonna miss you. So that's that.
Are you okay?
No, yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to us, and we will see you next week.
Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys, and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.